All right, so I'm gonna go all over the place this morning just because I had lots of random things that showed up today and late last night. So just bear with me as I get through them, and then we'll end with a video. So first off, Burt Jones is bringing Doge to Georgia. We're going to require that a full audit of the state agencies to ensure that Georgia taxpayers are being put first. We'll reduce the size of government and promote growth in our Georgia businesses. So Burt Jones has got a little video for us to watch, so let's take a listen.
So you've introduced the Red Tape Rollback Act of 2025, hoping to build on the work you've already done in 2024. What changes are you hoping to see by bringing Doge to Georgia?
Well, last year we introduced what we called the Red Tape Rollback, which would alleviate a lot of useless regulations and things that just cost businesses money, particularly small businesses, money and time. And thankfully, the president and his new administration has given it a good name and Department of Government Efficiency, and so we kind of trademarked the name and bringing it forward again. We passed it out of the Senate last year. It stalled in the House, but we fully anticipate getting it done this year. It's a great idea. It's good policy, and I'm glad that the President Trump is doing it at the federal level as well.
So you've introduced the Red Tape.
All right, so we'll see how far that goes. Like he said, it went, I guess he tried doing it in 2024, didn't go very far, and now he's bringing it back for 2025. So we'll see what happens there and getting our tax dollars and our budget under control. So Tom Holman, just a quick video. He's pretty much declaring war on the cartels after the border agents were fired upon yesterday. And he's saying that he's just not messing around. So let's take a listen to Tom Holman real quick.
What do you know about the Border Patrol agents exchanging gunfire with Mexico drug cartels from earlier?
They've taken gunfire, and it's going to get worse, Sean, because President Trump's going to seal that border. He's going to put the cartels out of business. He declared them a terrorist organization. We got the whole of government is going to dismantle these people and wipe them off the face of the earth. They're not going to go. They're not going to go lightly. We're taking them out of the trafficking business. We're taking them out of the smuggling business. We're taking them out of the dope business. There's going to be more violence on the southwest border. That's why Trump committed to calling the terrorist organization. He has. That's why the entire United States government is going to take care of those people and abolish them. We're going to attack them not just in Mexico, but in the 42 countries that Jalisco cartel is currently residing in. The Trump administration is going to take them on just like he did the Caliphate, and we're going to destroy them.
What do you know about the Border Patrol agents exchanging gunfire?
So he's going to go after those cartels. Brian talked about it considerably on the show today. So there's Tom Holman just reiterating that he's not going to just stop. He's going to make sure that the cartels can no longer function. So my next video, this was a funny video. I think it's from Trump's last administration, but this will kind of give you an understanding why the media cannot stand him. So listen up.
We have very low unemployment rate in the US and we have a very high unemployment rate in France. How come? What's the recipe for?
Well, maybe we have a better president than you do.
Your research says that there are, for immigrants on the whole,
Come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out.
I'll get it out.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to put this on television, but you don't even know what you're talking about. Try getting it out. Go ahead.
The question, sir, was what did you want President Zelensky to do about Vice President Biden and his son Hunter?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up of what I just asked you, sir.
Listen, you ready? We have the president of Finland. Ask him a question.
I have one for him. I just wanted to follow up on the one that I asked you, which
did
was,
you hear
what
me?
did you want
Did you hear me?
Yes,
Ask
sir.
him a question.
I will, but
I've given you a long answer. Ask this gentleman a question. Don't be rude. Okay, question? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her.
No.
She's like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you want to rein in Robert Mueller?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China.
President, overall, South Korea has done 5 times more tests than the U.S. per capita. Why is that?
I don't think that's true. Who are you with?
Yahoo News, and it's not true per capita.
Do you want to respond to that? If you have the numbers.
South Korea's testing was 11 per 100,000, and we're at 17 per 100,000.
All right.
So,
Are you going to apologize, Yahoo? That's why you're Yahoo, and nobody knows who the hell you are.
So I just thought that was a fun video. And just so you know, I know I've touched on this before. Kroger's introducing working with Microsoft to do facial recognition technology in their stores to identify customers. I've shown in the past where they're gonna do this facial recognition, and then they're gonna have price tags that actually change as you walk down the aisle. It'll change based on your social profile. So just so you're aware, just so it's in your wheelhouse, that's something that Microsoft, Bill Gates is working on to further devastate the American people. And this is another one. Keep your eyes open. Podesta. We've talked about Podesta before. He's been embedded in the Biden administration here recently, but he oversees Amber Alert, Amber Ready, missing and exploited children. It's funded by the Clinton Foundation and the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So they traffic the children and then control the hotline. So just wanted to bring you aware of that. So this was the kind of the post that got me going down the rabbit trail of the NGOs and how much money is being spent. I showed that on the show this morning. So NGOs emerge as a shadow government with 55,000 organizations. With new AI technology, they're able to take the information and kind of track where the money's going. So this is the video that I started watching. I didn't get all the way through, but it was interesting enough that I went and started reading. So let's take a listen.
What you are looking at is the central nervous system of how the leftists use NGOs, non-governmental organizations, so that they are able to interfere in elections, to transform American culture, much of which is paid for by the American taxpayer. Now, what you are looking at has never been seen before, because it can't be seen with conventional technology. Every dot you see here is an NGO that is tied to the Chinese Progressive Association. In the next few minutes, we're going to do that analysis. But let's go look at some of these outlying organizations. The Black Voters Matter Fund, $4 million, is funding all of these different organizations you see here. United Ballot, MIA Strategies, Mississippi Legislative Black Fund, Step Up Louisiana Organizing Fund, Abundant Life Ministries, Organizational Support Services. And here's another group, the National Domestic Workers Alliance. And who might they be funding? Well, let's go look. Arriba Las Vegas Workers Center. And here's a small group out here, the Fair Work Center. And who might they be funding? LGBTQ Allyship, Al Noor Islamic Center, Somali Community Services of Seattle, Working Washington. Vote yes for work. So what we have just shown you is 1 year where the Chinese Progressive Association has given money to organizations in the United States, all of which is tax exempt. And those organizations gave the money to a second organization. And what you are seeing here in 1 year from one organization are the thousands of interconnections, every one of which is to a leftist organization. In many cases, these organizations are getting taxpayer money. They are being funded by the United States government, and they are involved in activities that are antithetical to what America is trying to do. Well, now let's look at who gives money to the Chinese Progressive Association. So we go here, and here's our answer. The San Francisco Foundation, $750,000. The Sierra Health Foundation, East Bay Community, National Employment Law, Silicon Valley Foundation, which I recall is Mark Zuckerberg's group, Vanguard Charitable Endowment, Morgan Stanley Impact Fund, America Online, Tides Center, Mujeres Unidas, California Justice Fund, Power California Fund, the New Venture Fund, Rockefeller Philanthropy, the Tides Foundation, the American Civil Liberties Union. So you can see that the people connected to the Chinese Progressive Association, in terms of to whom the Chinese Progressive Association gives money, are leftist organizations. But when you look at the groups who give money to the Chinese Progressive Association, some of them are some of America's largest financial institutions. Now, this has all been hidden for years because current technology doesn't have the ability to demonstrate that. But now, with fractal quantum speed technology, we can show you every dollar going to every NGO, every dollar coming out of every NGO. We can show you every director, and if that director works at more than one NGOs. We can show you their telephone numbers, we can show you their addresses, and we can make a determination if any of those are common. And we will be doing that here on this website.
So that was the website that I showed earlier today. I must have closed it out because I don't see it. But I showed this morning and was able to filter some of it. It's called Joe Has to Go or something. I'll post it on my Twitter account so you can go and check it out if that's something you want to do. And then finally, one of the viewers sent me this video, so it's on the Stargate, the thing that Trump just had Sam Altman go to the White House and talk about with Larry Ellison, I think was his name. So let's take a listen. We'll play for this for a little bit because it is a long video, and then I'll post it on my Facebook, on my Twitter, and you can take a listen to the whole thing, but we'll play just a little bit of it.
That's because I don't want any corporate sponsors telling me what I can investigate or what I can say. Instead, you are our sponsors. This is a production by Jeffrey, I mean, what a celebration it was. You were there. I mean, you know, what did you think of the experience, seeing all those people in one room celebrating one idea, which is health for America?
Oh, man, it was really cool. I mean, it's the first time I brought my family to an event like that. It was such an amazing event. I mean, everyone was there, and it was a deserved moment of celebration after a lot of people's decades and lifetimes of hard work. And, you know, a lot of people didn't even get to make it there, like, you know, our dearly departed friend Jim Meehan and Tony Barks.
Yeah.
This was a celebration for all the people that have put in their lives for this work. It's a lot bigger than what CNN could even put in that report. But it was a beautiful experience, and it's the start of something, hopefully, that will continue past Trump, past Kennedy, and really move into a legacy for our children. And, you know, Del, we're in the middle here now of the news cycle. We all knew that was coming, and we're in the really at the throes of it. So I want to jump right in here because there's a lot to cover, and let's go chronologically. Okay, so Trump's inaugurated on January 20th, and literally hours before he puts his hand on the Bible, we have Biden passing out executive orders, passing out pardons, I should say. And let's just stop for a second, because before I go into this, I want to look at all of the presidents. Let's go back to Harry Truman, and we have this chart here of all the presidents and how many people they've pardoned. And you can see something at the bottom there, a lot of green real estate on Joe Biden's name. You have about 8,064 pardons from Joe Biden in one term. If George Bush had 200 pardons in 2 terms, Barack Obama, 1,927 pardons in 2 terms. So Biden was very busy pardoning people. And some of the people obviously pardoned his son Hunter, but then he went on the morning of the inauguration to pardon his siblings and their spouses on the way out of the White House. We have that article. But then for our audience and for the world audience, we have the main figure in the ongoing global scientific crime scene that is the COVID pandemic, Anthony Fauci. And this is the headline here. Biden preemptively pardons Anthony Fauci, Mark Milley, and the January 6th committee members. So pardons usually are for people that have committed a crime.
Yeah.
Maybe they showed great behavior. So the preemptive pardon is very rare. I mean, Jimmy Carter preemptively pardoned people who did not take part in the Vietnam draft. That was mandatory. Things like that we've seen throughout history. It has happened, but it's very rare. So let's look at the pardon here from Biden to Fauci. This is a full and unconditional pardon. It says, for any offense against the United States, which he may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014, through the date of this pardon arising from or in any manner related to the service's director of NIAID, as a member of the White House Corona Task Force, or the White House COVID-19 response team as the chief medical advisor to the president. So this shows shocking contempt for the public, rule of law, justice. And I think Biden, by doing this, has eroded public trust in public health more than any president in the history of this country, because this is just, again, it's an ongoing investigation. And I think one of the people who really puts it so plainly and so succinctly is comedian, actor, and podcaster Andrew Schultz. He was on a podcast, and when he heard about this, he kind of just erupted, and it sounded like this.
But Fauci took the pardon. Fauci could say, I don't want the pardon. I don't think I did anything wrong. But he took the pardon.
I don't blame anybody for taking the pardon.
I do, because now you're guilty. Because there are a lot of people that were on the January 6th committee that were offered a pardon, and they said no. They're like, I did my job. I was supposed to investigate this. I did what I was supposed to do. I don't want the pardon.
If you're Fauci, you're not taking a pardon?
What's in my arm, yo?
What's in your arm, not mine.
That's what I'm saying. What's in my arm, yo? Why are you taking a pardon? What's in my arm, yo?
Okay.
What's in my arm?
I'm taking that part. I don't give a
If I put some in my arm, you're not allowed to get pardoned. You told me I need to put some in my arm. Now you can't go get pardoned. You gotta hold the weight of that decision. That's your job. What's in my arm, yo?
I mean,
what's about to come out?
You ain't wrong. Like it looks a suspect. It definitely looks crazy suspect.
I mean, it's such a good point, right? Like, why would a doctor that ran, our health decisions during pandemic need to be pardoned ahead of time. Obviously, even that conversation to go on, well, maybe it was the gain of function, things that, Rand Paul had him on the ropes. Probably they sensed was going in for the kill any day now. Of course, I've been saying, and maybe I made the mistake of being so open about the fact that I wanted to see him carted off to jail in handcuffs. My understanding is, though, that it is a federal pardon, that the states will still have rights and an ability to maybe indict on some level. So it'll be interesting to see if any of the states go that direction. But I think it's a perfectly valid point. If you haven't broken the law, why are you worried? Why would you need a pardon? If you feel good about what you've done, don't you think the court systems in America work? I mean, the whole thing is, the whole idea of a preemptive pardon really undermines faith in the system. The president doesn't trust the judicial system that they've used so powerfully and really weaponized themselves over the last 4 years. I think that's clear to anybody. It's just, it's a double standard. And I do think we should be worried. I think anyone that got injected or, had someone die because they couldn't get ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, and then the salesperson for all of those things, including the 6-foot social distancing, which he said just sort of appeared, well, we'll have to see what happens. But it's unfortunate. It also, I think, though, does lay the onus of guilt upon him. So we'll see how that plays out, certainly in our history books.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, he was scot-free and this was a conspiracy. We had in 2022, this is Rand Paul, Fauci referred to Justice Department for criminal investigation for allegedly lying under oath to Congress. And even Rand Paul took to X after he heard about this pardon. He said, if there was ever any doubt as to who bears responsibility for the COVID pandemic, Biden's pardon of Fauci forever seals the deal. As chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, I will not rest until the entire truth of the cover-up is exposed. Fauci's pardon will only serve as an accelerant to pierce the veil of deception. Ignominious Anthony Fauci will go down in history as the first government scientist to be preemptively pardoned for a crime. And as you rightly mentioned, in 2014, because that's when this starts, the pardon starts in 2014, we know that President Obama asked for a halt to gain-of-function research. The headline says U.S. halts funding for new risky virus studies that like SARS, MERS, flu. There's one study that snuck through, though, and this was Ralph Barrick, University of North Carolina, funded by NIAID's Anthony Fauci. This was the SARS-like cluster of circulating bat coronaviruses that shows potential for human emergence, where they were souping up coronaviruses to see if they can better infect people. And Fauci paid for that. And we know now in his emails, he was running around trying to cover that up. Then he covered up the origin story. Then he was the promoter of the vaccine. As you said, social distancing. He was the main person on that, possibly lying in congressional hearings. This guy has fingerprints everywhere that need to be investigated. So it's really interesting that, this sends a message, a bad message to public health officials that they can be reckless with their recommendations and get away with it. So one of the other things that Biden did right before he left was he gave a gift to Moderna of $590 million through HHS by providing them the money to accelerate pandemic influenza mRNA-based vaccine development. These are for avian flu viruses with pandemic potential. So this is another thing that Biden is just pouring money. A lot of people thought this was Trump's decision, but this was Biden. So these were these kind of gifts as he's out the door and parting. But now we move to Trump. He takes office, and there's interesting because Trump is a businessman, as we all know. So he always reaches across the aisle and tries to make an alliance, tries to make deals here and there. And he meets with none other than Bill Gates, someone that a lot of people know over the last 4 years and really don't have trust and not much faith in what Bill Gates has to offer. And Bill Gates then went on a media outlet and talked about that. Sounded like this.
Right.
Have you met with Donald Trump since the election?
Yeah, I had a chance to go have a long and actually quite intriguing dinner with him.
What did you discuss? What was intriguing?
Well, we touched on a lot of things. It was over 3 hours. To my surprise, it was, just he and I, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and the person who helps manage things for me, Larry Cohen. So the four of us sat there, and it was quite wide-ranging. Global health's the area that I work in, and such amazing things have happened and can happen there. I spoke a lot about HIV and that the foundation's literally working on a cure for that. We're at an early stage, and so he, in the COVID days, accelerated the vaccine innovation. So I, was asking him if maybe the same kind of thing could be done here, and we both got, I think, pretty excited about that. We talked about polio, where we're very close to getting that done, but if you stop, it'll spread back. And so I explained why it's been tough in Pakistan, Afghanistan. We've had cases show up in Gaza. We have cases in Africa. And he was fascinated to hear what he could do to maximize the chance that during the next 4 years, that incredible milestone will be achieved. I felt like he was, energized and, looking forward to helping to drive innovation. I was frankly impressed with how well he showed a lot of interest in the issues I brought up.
Very interesting. Just to point out that polio is now spreading in the countries he's talking about because of vaccine programs. It is almost completely vaccine-strained polio that's now spreading those areas. I've spoken to scientists, and they point to Bill Gates, who has indictments against him in some of the countries around the world that think that his reckless use of and overseeing of vaccine programs is causing problems, not helping them. So interesting. I just, hopefully, and this is why I think we're all, we're going to talk a lot about it, throughout the show, but waiting with bated breath for Robert Kennedy Jr. to be, confirmed with the hope that he'll actually be a part of these conversations and maybe bring a counterbalance to it, if you will.
And so as Bill Gates basically enters the White House and talks about things like polio, I think there's no better time than people around Trump or anybody in this nation to watch the polio documentary that has just been released. It's a blockbuster. People stop me throughout the entire Maha event to tell me about this polio documentary and how it's going to change the history of how we know what we know about this subject. So this is something anybody can watch right now. But let's switch over from someone who's kind of like on Bill Gates' level, and that's Larry Ellison, and he's been making news lately. So he's the chief technology officer and executive chairman at Oracle. He founded Oracle. He stepped down as CEO in 2014, and he is now richer than Bill Gates. Larry Ellison edges past Bill Gates as world's fourth richest person. That's what Bloomberg says. And during Trump's first press conference as the 47th president of the United States, Larry Ellison did an impromptu mic grab. If you haven't seen it yet, this is what it looks like.
One of the most exciting things we're working on, using the tools that Sam and Masa are providing, is a cancer vaccine. It's very interesting. It turns out, I'll be quick, all of our cancers, cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. So you can do early cancer detection. If you can do using AI, you can do early cancer detection with a blood test. And using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person. So we can, again, cancer diagnosis using AI has the promise of just being a simple blood test. Then beyond that, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again, using AI in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
This 48-hour turnaround on a vaccine is what we have been talking about, right? One of the things I've been warning and why I think they, really pushed the mRNA technology during the COVID pandemic. It was all to get funding to push this technology forward. They love it because now the guessing game is gone, waiting months to see if, the virus can grow on an egg or a monkey kidney or what substrate actually works. all of that is gone. And what I've been saying is this is going to create a tidal wave of vaccinations where just overnight they can start vaccinating for every bacteria, the millions on the planet, these people, for some reason, imagine that a greater future is one where we're apparently being vaccinated 1 million times a year for everything that they're afraid of on the planet. It's pure madness. Madness on one level, but I'm sure you've got other things to say. But it's alarming, and this is what we've been warning. These, without a proper safety trial in the COVID vaccine, now we're ready to just ramp up, mRNA for everything.
Yeah, and so everybody should stick around because in a moment, obviously, we're going to have Dr. Robert Malone on to really unpack this. But clearly, Ellison did not read the room of the American public there because the American public recoiled at that statement. And, this was part of a larger announcement that was happening, Project Stargate. This is an AI, artificial intelligence initiative, $500 billion to build this infrastructure out. And Ellison kept kind of circling it back to what this can do for health. He was talking about vaccines. He was also talking about AI kind of combing through health records and health information and studies to help doctors kind of do their job better than they can do them already. And what's interesting is Ellison really came on the scene in 2020. He shut down his charitable foundation to focus on what was at the time medical philanthropy. That's what the news reported. But he did help out during COVID because he kind of joined with Trump in 2020. We have a Forbes article here. It says Larry Ellison reveals his big data battle plan to fight coronavirus in partnership with Trump White House. So in his defense, he did drop things and say, we need to do this. I'm going to try to help. I'm going to try to build whatever you need me to do, Trump, at the time president. I will do it. One of the things that really came out of that partnership was this, and this is the journal Vaccine. It writes about it. It's the V-Safe initiative, the V-Safe After Vaccination Health Checker. And it says the CDC and FDA recognize the need to supplement passive VAERS surveillance during the early stages of the COVID-19 vaccination program when limited vaccine doses were available from the other vaccine safety surveillance systems. To address these data needs, the CDC, in collaboration with technology company Oracle, developed and implemented V-Safe, a new vaccine safety monitoring system specifically designed to conduct near real-time active surveillance for COVID-19 vaccine monitoring, to keep us safe. Well, all of that data was hidden from the public until ICANN came around and sued the CDC not once, but twice. Finally, the CDC capitulated in 2022. Here's the breaking news headline that we posted that resulted in a court order that required them to produce all of the data. We took that data. We made a V-Safe dashboard for the public. You can go to ICANN's website and search it, and you can see the shocking results. One of those things was nearly 7.7% of people who took one dose had to seek medical attention. Many of those people had to seek multiple attempts at medical attention, 2 visits, 3 visits. This was all the information the CDC did not tell people. There's so much more to that story. I know you did an exclusive with Aaron Siri about that. But this is where Oracle comes in. This is where big data tried to help, and you can see the result. But it's interesting because Ellison is saying, look, I can help doctors do their job better. We have this idea where AI can comb through safety studies and diagnoses and really help people with cancer. Well, it's interesting because he had a startup called Ronin that was going to do the same thing. That was exactly their mission. In 2018, the company started to try to help doctors. And in 2024, less than a year ago, it ended. Bloomberg, Larry Ellison's cancer software startup Project Ronin is closing. And it says Ronin struggled to get paying customers. He couldn't make it in the free market and didn't have the finances to continue operating. Executives said during an all-hands meeting Friday when the shutdown was announced, according to 3 attendees who asked not to be identified, blah, blah, blah. So that's a very interesting thing because here he is. He can't even make the company work, not enough need for that company or whatever. And so now he's kind of pandering to the White House. He gives this $500 billion deal saying, hey, we're going to try it again, but this time with government contracts. So,
well, I mean, when you look at all of the points that you're making there, right, I think this is why a lot of people have been really panicked about, Larry Ellison's statement about mRNA cancer vaccines is because this guy already has a history of showing that when he says help, what he means is apparently block information from public record, which is what the vSafe data attempted to do. We know that in our FOIA requests, just for people that haven't been paying attention, Freedom of Information Act requests, the CDC wanted the app to be asking the important questions that they were already seeing in trials. Is it causing myocarditis, pericarditis? Is it causing blood clotting, thrombocytopenia, strokes, all of those things that would really matter? And as if you've been watching the show, you know, when we finally won that vSafe data, all of the questions that were asked were simple things like headaches, swelling at the injection site, all things that they would say is just proof the vaccine's working. The things that would be proof it's not working were not asked there. They were left in an open text field, which we sued for a whole, I think more than a year to get that open text field. We built a dashboard. It's now dumping out, you know, tens. I mean, I think there was over 30 write-ins on death. 2 million people wrote into that open text field, which is shocking out of the amount of people that were involved. So the whole thing is opening up. But it took a nonprofit like ours to get transparency from the technology that Larry Ellison built. And then you see him rushing a cancer vaccine. But I do want to say this, that I'm not against science. I mean, my perspective, and there's a lot of the news that are ringing off, my phone's ringing off the hook at the moment. I'm not against science. If Larry Ellison wants to put a man on Saturn, let's see you do it. If you want, to create a cancer vaccine, my issue, and the issue has always been this: you're gonna have to go through a long-term safety trial. You can dream whatever you want. We want a placebo group. We want to track them multi-year study, since you're going to spelunk into messing with cells that we know are floating in every person's body. And then most importantly, we get a choice. I get to decide whether I like your technology. I get to decide whether I think it's smart to inject an mRNA technology, especially after I hear from Robert Malone, who's coming up. I get to decide if I wanted to listen to Robert Malone's advice or Larry Ellison's advice, because it's a free country and this is my body, not the government. So that's where I stand with this. You can dream all you want, Larry Ellison. You can have as many failed companies as you want, but if you ever have a product that's going out to the public, we're going to make sure it goes through a double-blind trial and that it proves that it's safe, compared to a baseline of people that received nothing that affects their body. So that's where we're at. There's going to be tricks, right? They'll probably try to say, well, we want to compare it to the standard of care. This is the gimmick that's going to come up, by the way, right? We're going to compare our vaccine to the standard of care, which is chemo. So look, it did really well safety-wise against chemo. I mean, this is how this game is going to be played. This is why people better keep donating to ICANN so that we can sue when they try to play games like that. But I'll let you get back to it. Just sort of fired up about this. There's a lot we can do to make sure that stupid ideas don't poison people and land on the market. So I wouldn't panic. But, also a lot of this hangs in the balance. If Robert Kennedy Jr. and somebody that's really going to go in and create transparency, this is evidence of why that transparency is so needed right now in these modern times.
Yeah, and so rounding out this, let's talk about this mRNA technology. Ellison's talking about it as if it's a savior and if it is completely flawless and foolproof, and it worked for COVID, so it's going to work to revolutionize the world. Well, there's a lot of questions here. We just covered last week. A mouse study came out, and in this study, they were using some state-of-the-art imaging, single cell, down to the single cell, to see where these lipid nanoparticles go. That's the vehicle that encapsulates the mRNA and sends it through the body. Well, they're supposed to send it to a target, to a specific spot. Well, we see these mouse study, the picture here, we're having what's called off-target effects. It's going throughout the whole body: liver, kidney, spleen, heart, brain. And it even says in the study, we demonstrate that intermuscularly injected lipid nanoparticles carry SARS-CoV-2 spike mRNA reach heart tissue, leading to proteome changes, suggesting immune activation and blood vessel damage. That's not supposed to happen, but it's in there. So Andrew Schultz, what's in your arm? That's in your arm, and maybe in your heart. I mean, so when we talk about, hey, so great, let's build more platforms with mRNA. Not yet. We have a lot of questions here.
Hold on.
And again, there's just so many conversations that need to happen here. The gene therapy for cancer has been out for a long time now. This is one of the articles, and this is in 2017. New gene therapy treatment could hit $1 million per patient because of additional costs. So how about the cost for personalized cancer vaccines, even if they do work? But it's interesting because this was all couched in this massive artificial intelligence build out. And just a little over a week ago, you have UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and he put out his blueprint to turbocharge AI, basically deliver national renewal, he said. And in that, I don't know if it's a slip of the tongue, but he says today's plan mainlines AI into the veins of this enterprising nation, revolutionizing our public services and putting more money into people's back pockets. I thought that was kind of interesting. But let's go back and finish this off with Ellison. Ellison is someone who's saying, I can help you with healthcare, but this is also Ellison on AI. Take a listen.
All right.
The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable. The cars have cameras on them. I think we have a squad car here someplace. But those kind of applications using AI, if we can use AI, and we're using AI to monitor the video. So if that altercation that occurred in Memphis, the chief of police would be immediately notified. It's not people that are looking at those cameras, it's AI that's looking at the camera. No, you can't do this. It would be like a shooting. That's going to be immediately, that's going to be an event that's immediately, an alarm is going to go off, it's going to be, and we're going to have supervision. In other words, every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. And the supervision will, and if there's a problem, AI will report the problem and report it to the appropriate person, whether it's the sheriff or the chief or whomever we need to take control of the situation. We have, same thing. We have drones. If there's something going on in a shopping center, and I'll stop. A drone goes out there, get there way faster than a police car. There's no reason for, by the way, high-speed chases. You shouldn't have high-speed chases between cars. You just have a drone follow the car. I mean, it's very, very simple. And the new generation of autonomous drones.
I mean, you just sit there going, how busy is this guy? I've seen this movie. We all saw this movie. We know how this ends. You know what I mean? Surveillance everywhere, drones everywhere, mechanical surveillance jumping in. I mean, like all the way back, we were talking about the Tom Selleck movie where like the machines that were working for the government whatever start turning on you, and now they're shooting you and spraying acid on you and tracking you down and coming through your door. I mean, it's just... we're going to talk more and more about this, Jeffrey, right? Yeah. There's an inevitability to a lot of these conversations. I don't think you're going to stop AI. I don't think you're going to stop surveillance. I still, it's probably fruitless. I still demand, I opt out of the face recognition software at the airport. I'm the only one doing it, so I'm not sure what effect it's actually having. It's just my own little jab at the system. But we're going to have to start asking ourselves a question. If you can't beat them, do you join them? Do we start working on benevolent AI systems that maybe counterbalance those that are clearly, going to be weaponized against us? I have mixed feelings. I don't mind if the surveillance is watching police officers, people that work for the government, those institutions that, if reckless, put, citizens in harm's way. But you and I both know that these technologies aren't going to just be focused on government officials. They're the ones funding it. They're going to turn it on us. And how are we going to move into the future there? It's certainly going to bring a whole new expansive need for legal work to be done by ICANN. And we're looking at that right now.